Hello everyone, my name is Osaruonamen Ibizugbe. I am the project officer of the Media in Gender project at the CJID. And today, the conversation will be focusing on how social cultural norms and practices fuel gender-based violence and how we can use advocacy as a tool to begin to change mindsets. I have with me on set Ms. Bidemi Adedire. She is a dedicated communications and idea strategist, deeply committed to women's empowerment, menstrual equity, and adolescent health at Smile Outreach. In her current role as the Giving Tuesday Africa Hub, Bidemi leads digital engagement efforts focusing on community engagement and movement building across the continent. Hello, Bidemi. It's great to have you here.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is what we're commemorating, and today we are going to talk about social cultural practices and norms that fuels gender-based violence in Nigeria. So I would just like you to give an overview, first of all, in terms of the celebration of the 16 days of activism in general. It starts from the day of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and runs through to the International Human Rights Day. Yeah. The United Nations has set this date. How is it for you?
For me, it's something I've been a part of for like 4 years now. Even at the Smile Outreach, we tend to do a lot of awareness raising. We put together toolkits for people that would love to be part of this period, and sort of tell people simple ways they could be part of it. And I'm doing that at the moment, so absolutely.
Okay, that's really great. It's great to know that you're contributing to that in your space. Now let's move on to the conversation. What are those specific social cultural norms and practices that you would say for gender-based violence, especially looking at the Nigerian ecosystem?
I would say we live in a society where there is a place for a woman, okay, and I feel like that has enabled gender-based violence in different forms, to be honest. Certain practices, for example, like female genital mutilation, as crazy as it sounds in this time and era, this digital space, it's still happening, gender, like intimate partner violence is actually still happening. And we see that a lot of women are finding it difficult day by day to leave this relationship, and this is because they are probably over reliant on their spouses. They have no means to survive if they were to leave such a relationship, and probably because they saw their parents go through this particular kind of lifestyle and they believe this is how it is, this is normal, and it's absolutely not normal. So yes, these practices, this societal nuances are still what makes GBV such a serious case, especially in Africa.
Okay, how would you say these factors or all of these challenges or these issues of these practices that you've mentioned, how would you say they influence gender dynamics and power structures in all levels of society?
So let me use the word permit me to use the word justifying this act. So I'm going to give you an example. A woman who is working, and it's a story, and after getting married, her husband says, I don't want you to work anymore. So we also live in a kind of society where if your husband says, do not work, you have to obey what the husband is saying. And this woman is no longer working, and she's seen some changes in character, and one day this man gives her different blows left, right, and center. But she's unable to leave that home because now she has nothing to fall back on. Yeah. So the culture of being so submissive to the point where you have to lose your power or things that you can put to your name has affected this woman. She's unable to leave this home. If she was to leave, she would be unable to take care of her kids. She would have to start all over. She would have to build her career from the scratch. And we have this whole unemployment issue happening in the country. These factors would make this woman stay in such a relationship. So are you seeing how these cultural norms, this culture, this act of living that we've fostered is also like enabling this act to continue? And the husband probably realizes that this woman has nowhere to go. So if I can do anything I want with her, and she would make it clear that, look, I own you, I paid for you, I pay for everything you own, there is nothing you can do about it. It's sad, but this is what we see today.
Yeah, it's really very sad. I mean, you've identified, we already know these issues, you've identified these problems or these factors,
Right.
that some cultures support the fact that, oh, women are meant to act a certain way, women are meant to be in some certain spaces and all of that.
Yeah.
But how then would you say, or how far would you say advocacy have gone in terms of challenging these harmful cultural beliefs and practices, especially being someone in this space?
Something else that I'm also really proud of is the fact that women are beginning to stand up for themselves. They're beginning to talk about their experiences. They're beginning to let people that aren't married know that, okay, I'm in this marriage and this is what I'm going through. This is what you should watch out for, right? Or they are beginning to say, I'm in a relationship and it looks like this person has tendencies of being violent, so I'm going to walk away before it becomes permanent. So yes, I'm happy. And this is the work of advocacy. This is the work of people taking it upon themselves to ensure that, you know, no one becomes like them, right? We still live in a society where if a woman walks out of a marriage, for example, and she happens to be a single mother, there is nothing you want to say. It's going to be a problem for her to get married. She is divorced, that's already a stigma. She's a single mother, that's double stigma. If you are single, it's still a problem, because if you get to a certain age, they say, what are you looking for? Why are you not married? So there is a societal covering and validation that comes with some of this status we take so highly, and women will do anything to keep this status. They will do anything to maybe the public to love that status, to love what they are doing, right? But we now have a lot of women that work out and do fine, and they probably share tips and tricks as to how to come back to yourself again if you were to walk out of a violent relationship, for example. So these are some of the things we see advocacy doing, the results of advocacy, right? And I'm happy to see that happening.
Okay, like in terms, would you say it has had an impact, a measurable impact, or an impact that you would see to say, okay, that, yeah, if I look at this, okay, this has changed over time, this has changed in between how many years and all of that. Are you seeing that tangible impact?
Osas, I don't do statistics for
Okay.
starters.
But
right?
then you would agree with me that statistics has a lot to do in terms of measuring impact.
It does, but I'm speaking from impact. So I don't do statistics because these numbers, come to my village and see what's happening. Then add it to the numbers you are collecting, right? We are relying so much on numbers from the UN, for example. Do they know what's happening in Mopa, right? Have they gone to these places to do research and find out what's happening? Some of this research we do, they're still based on people that are able to have access to their phones. So I would say GBV being reduced, I cannot say that it's happening, but I can assure you that advocacy has a role to play, and I've seen it happen. I've seen what advocacy can do. I've seen it happen with my mom, for example, when it comes to period poverty. I've been able to re-educate her, and she's more open about it. There is no stigma around it. I mean, after doing a podcast series about it, there's nothing she can do. But we need more people that are able to express themselves. We need more people that are able to take on being. Everybody can be an advocate. Everybody has a role to play in ensuring that GBV ends. But it's a long battle. I'm very patient. It's a long run, and we should all be patient.
Right.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Okay, we should all be patient. I'm going to note that down. Now, alongside advocacy, how would you say storytelling and media campaigns can be used to create narratives that challenges these social cultural norms and practices?
Would you believe me if I told you that storytelling is the reason why GBV continues? So I'm going to give you an example.
How is that?
Okay. Imagine being told that if you don't cut yourself, your baby is going to die, right? That's the power of story. Someone 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, said this story, and everybody is talking about it now. And you believe it.
Yeah.
That's what storytelling can do. How about we start telling stories that counters the stories? That's it. I know someone told you this, but it's not true, right? We need to start countering the stories. That's what storytelling can do. And we have technology now, which is powerful. We are documenting this right now. This is a podcast. Somebody is going to watch this and realize, okay, FGM does not add to my life. I have to stop it. I have to not believe the story anymore. Can I tell you another story?
Yes, please.
So my mom was in court. And I know my mother. She's someone that if she does something, she would want me to do it because I'm the only daughter. So I'm so thankful, my God. And I asked her, why are you not caught? And she said one day she was pregnant with me. And she saw pregnant women lining up to go into this old woman's house. she didn't understand what was going on. So she asked some pregnant women, and then she asked the old woman, and she said, you have to cut. If you don't do it, once your clitoris touches the baby's head, the baby will die. My mom was like, I already know this pregnancy will be painful. Let me not add pain upon pain, right? So she didn't do it. Now, I was born. I'm alive, obviously.
Well,
more than 20 years now. In fact, almost 30. I wish when she gave birth to me, she had gone back to that woman and said, I didn't cut myself,
but then my child is healthy and I'm well.
So that's the power of storytelling. Thankfully, my mom did not believe it, but people were lining up to be cut or SARS. People were lining up to go through that pain.
I can imagine.
That's what storytelling can do. We need to start telling stories. I need to see survivors come out and tell this story. I don't want them to be ashamed anymore. They are not victims. They are powerful women. They are champions of change. And they can stop generations worth of pain from continuing, right? That is what I want to see. That is what storytelling can do.
Thank you very much. Now, can you give examples of some community-led initiatives, of which I am very sure that you're one person who have led some yourself,
right,
that has worked in terms of challenging stereotypes and patriarchal norms and harmful practices?
So I'm just going to give an example that is close to home. I work with the Smile Outreach, and we did this project called the Outreach Challenge, where what we focus on at the Smile Outreach is menstrual equity and sexual grooming. Sexual grooming leads to cross-generational sexual relationship, and it leads to child marriage, it leads to teenage pregnancies, it leads to HIV, it leads to other STIs, and we see it happening in different parts of the country. We see it in the north, we see it in the south, but they occur differently. We were able to reach 3,000 adolescents with the help of volunteers, but what struck me the most is the fact that we were able to embolden. We were able to tell these girls that if you say no, nothing will happen to you. Say no, report this thing, tell your father, tell your mother, let us see what will happen. Hear it. Right? Giving these kids this courage and seeing them take on this courage, knowing fully well that, first of all, it's not their fault that they were almost, they were groomed to the point where they almost got into this relationship, but now they can actually walk out of these things and not feel any form of shame. I think that was the highlight of the project for me, and I would love to continue this. It's our plan to take it on, expand, in the coming years. So yeah, that's an example.
Well, that's really very commendable, and it's great to see that you're doing that work in terms of changing mindset and ensuring that you get every young woman and every young lady along to be able to speak up. Now, finally, Unite, Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls. What would be your advocacy call to individuals, organizations, government agencies who are working in the GBV space in Nigeria?
Okay, so something else. I'm part of the Generous Activism Campaign. Love it, by the way. And I'm also part of the 16 Stories Coalition. So it's a coalition that has non-profit. It has spoken word artists, even musicians that have dedicated their album to speaking against gender-based violence. And
during the 16 days,
during the 16 days of activism, and they are, dedicating a portion of the sales, the profit, to non-profit of their cause. This is amazing. But beyond that, we've also created a playbook. This playbook contains different acts of generosity you can take on in your space, even as an individual. If you are youth, if you are a company, if you are thinking of CSR initiatives that could align with what you're doing, and you find a way of giving voice, right, to this period of activism. This playbook contains these different activities. And something else I'd like to say is, let's not wait for influencers. Let's not wait for celebrities to talk about this campaign. If you have 200 followers, that's a network. And if you can change one person, if you can change the mindset of one person, you've changed a generation. I need us to start seeing that. I need us to start seeing that when we change one person, we've actually changed lives, thousands of lives through that person. We've changed that person's family. We've changed the children that will come from that person. And that's the power. of us giving voice. So
thank you very much, Bidemi. You've said it all. I'm just going to say, when they say if you educate a woman, you educate a nation, I think that's in line with what you just said. That is the power of networking and ensuring when you change one person, the other person goes further to also change the person. And then she has also mentioned that storytelling is a very powerful tool that we, especially as media professionals, can use to change the mindset, especially when it comes to eradicating religious beliefs, sociocultural norms, practices that fuels gender-based violence in our spaces, society, community, and the nation at large. Thank you very much, Bidemi.
Sure.
Bidemi Adedire is an idea strategist, and she's very passionate about women's and girls' empowerment and menstrual rights. So thank you, Bidemi, once again for joining us. And like I said earlier, this video is part of the series that has been rolled out by the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development to commemorate the 2023 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. My name is Osaruonamen Ibizugbe, and I am a project officer at the CJID. Bye.